All right, guys, so we've got the July jobs report from Challenger and Gray today, and overall things look better, but there is some, well, ominous foreshadowing, I think, of things to come when we look at the report. And today we're going to dive into it. If you're new here to the channel, 6 days a week, we're going to be talking about how AI is impacting your life and your ability, well, to feed your family, boys. So make sure that you subscribe. So US-based employers announced just over 33,000 job cuts in July, which is actually down 27% from the job cuts in June. So, hey, that's a positive thing. Less people getting laid off. Now, it is also worth noting that this layoff announcement is down 46% year to date from last year. So overall trend, guys, is less people getting laid off. Now, you also have to keep in mind that last year we had the big DOGE initiative. So we saw a lot of people in the government being laid off. But at any rate, less people being laid off this year than last year, which I think is a good thing in general. But and even get this, guys, this is a great stat. This is the cuts from last month in July are actually the lowest that we've seen in 2 years. So we've got a nice trend going here with layoffs. This year as a whole, on a great trend, through July, employers have announced 477,000 job cuts, which is down 41% from the 806,000 cuts announced in the first 7 months of 2025. So 41% less people being laid off so far this year than last year. I think that is a good thing. That's a great thing. But I also think that it's a little bit dangerous to get too much of a sense of stability and comfort. I do not think now is a good time to be comfortable. I'm certainly not comfortable. Everything is changing, guys. I think, a lot of people try to predict the future, and I think that makes sense. But the reality, there's one thing that I know for sure, is that the world in 10 years is going to look completely different from the world now, whether it's robots, AI, space travel, self-driving cars. It's just going to look completely different. I was talking to a contractor the other day. He said, yeah, we're like quickly moving into a phase, I think, where robots are doing repairs on homes. Like robots are going to be doing, basically you're going to have these prefabricated homes. You're going to have kind of like cookie cutter style homes being constructed, and then you're going to have robots that are trained on making repairs and fixing them and doing installs and stuff like that. And so that is going to certainly change the landscape quite a bit. But I think, we got to take a closer look, I think, is where we are today, which is a world where AI is really impacting the workforce. And I think the best way to kind of contextualize this is seeing where most of the job cuts are, and that is in tech. Tech is the leading driver of layoffs for this past month at just under 10,000 cuts in July. Year to date, it's 149,000 for tech, which is actually an increase of 67% from last year. So I think what's interesting here, guys, is that overall, there's been less job cuts this year than last year, but tech cuts are way up, 67%. And the number one reason cited for these layoffs is AI. And we're going to explain why that's happening and why it's kind of changing up, because, and this is something we've talked about too, and I think a lot of the guys have made really smart comments about this. By the way, if you have a smart comment, put it below. I've pinned your great comments in the past. I'll pin them in the future. But one of the things that we've seen is that, it's challenging. It's very difficult to directly attribute layoffs to AI. Even if a company says it's AI, it doesn't necessarily mean it is. And even if a company says it's not AI, it's hard to say that it's not. And we're going to cover that here in just a moment. But number two for the month of July in layoffs were financial firms, fintech. They announced just over 3,100 layoffs in July. Year to date, that's just over 18,000, which is actually down 31% from last year. Government came in number 3 at just under 3,000 in July. Year to date, that's just over 20,000. That's down 93% from last year, again, when DOGE cuts were running rampant. So we've got, so far for the year, number 1 layoffs, tech. Number 2, transportation. Number 3, healthcare. Number 4, services. And number 5 are government for the year. So that's where the layoffs are happening. Now, the next question I think that we need to ask ourselves is why are the layoffs happening? If you want to remain relevant, respected, financially free, just like I do, we kind of have to understand, like, where is our place? Where's our value in the market going to be? Where do we actually serve purpose? So the number one reason, guys, is AI. For the 5th consecutive month, AI is the reason that layoffs are happening. We have over 112,000 cuts this year directly attributed to AI. And get this, that is 24% of all layoffs this year. 24%. 1 in 4 people that got laid off this year were laid off because of AI. And in and of itself, that's a little bit eye-popping and eye-catching. But when you dig even down even a little bit deeper, it's even more staggering, because only 5% of cuts last year were attributed to AI, and 2.5% in 2024. So you go from 2.5% to 5% to 24% of layoffs attributed to AI. It's like, you know, you've got a doubling and then a quintupling of layoffs. Where does that leave us next year as far as AI layoffs, and where is that going to go moving forward? And you know, I want to give a couple quotes here from Challenger, who's one of the guys, one of the leadership guys over at Challenger and Gray, and he has a couple interesting points. Quote, naming AI in a layoff announcement can win over investors while pushing current and prospective employees away. That's why the messaging has swung from hedging to aggressively citing it, meaning AI. But, quote, as regulations start to take shape, companies will be even more careful in their announcements, which would make tracking the impact of AI on jobs more opaque, end quote. And I think that says a lot there, which is, in the past, it's been very attractive to blame AI for layoffs, but in the future, it becomes less exciting. You know, employees are nervous about it, employees are concerned about it, government regulators are moving in, it's making it harder for them to build out data centers, power, everything is being impacted by AI. There's a lot of pushback on this. So again, I like the word opaque. I think that makes sense. Another stat point here I thought was really interesting was, so far this year, there's only one layoff in healthcare, which is attributed to AI. Only one major layoff, and it wasn't a ton, it was about 50 people that were laid off, and that was in telehealth. Telehealth, guys, and again, I think that makes sense. AI, and this is something that we talked about a couple days ago about customer service. I'll post a link to the video here, because you know, anytime you're talking to someone on a phone or talking to a chat bot, or you have a question or a problem, that is where a well-contextualized AI bot is going to take over. I mean, I'm going to be covering this, I think, more aggressively in the future, because I think this impacts a lot of regular guys and regular people. Because I really feel like there's this kind of like pushback on, well, I don't want to talk to a robot. But guys, at the same time, I don't want to sit on hold with Verizon for 45 minutes waiting to get passed around to the next person. I would rather talk to an AI bot, see if it can solve my problem. Cold Analytics, one of the common viewer, like loyal viewers here, I'd love to see you, brother, made a great point the other day, how there's different levels of customer service, 1, 2, 3, etc. And you know, basically what we're going to see here in customer service is level 1 problems getting solved by AI, and then kind of moving up the ranks to where there's a human. But again, the reality is, especially with telehealth, customer service as a whole, you're going to move away from, you know, anytime there's a video just like this, or text or audio, we're going to be progressively transferring more of those jobs from humans to robots. AI-related cuts have been pretty limited outside the tech sector. Just to kind of expand on this idea, most of the cuts that are AI-related are happening in tech, and I think this lines up perfectly with what we're seeing in development. We see that Anthropic is the biggest AI LLM right now. Why? Because it's really focused on coding. It's focused on writing and creating better code. And you know, where are you using code writing? It's in tech. So what we see here is that tech companies are using AI more and more and more to write code, to develop code. And again, I cannot, that's the trend this year. That's the trend this year, is that AI is being seen as a code writer, as a programmer, and then it's going to build up better AI and better systems, and then that is going to diffuse out into every single industry in the world. That is my hot prediction. You can take that to the bank. Also worth noting, hiring this year is actually up 25% year to date since last year. Again, a lot of factors macroeconomically, but hiring is up as a whole. July hiring was primarily attributed to aerospace and defense, tech, and auto. Again, obviously the aerospace and defense makes sense. You may have noticed that the world is in turmoil, between what happened in Venezuela, you've got Ukraine and Russia, you've got Israel and Palestine, you've got Iran, you got all these things happening in the world. So it makes sense that aerospace and defense is up. Tech, obviously, there's a lot of shifting there. I find it interesting that tech is the biggest firer, but also the second largest hirer. That's because needs change, boys, needs change. The problems that you were solving yesterday are not the problems you're gonna be solving tomorrow. So keep that in mind. So guys, that's the jobs report. Let me know what you think. What are your predictions? Where do you disagree with me? Where do you agree with me? Love to hear from it. If you have specific questions that you'd like highlighted on the channel, hit the join button below to join the membership community. It's $10 a month, 30 days free, and I'll be giving shout outs here on the channel as you guys join. And that's a way to get, support the channel and the work that we're doing here to help guys navigate and remain relevant, respected, and financially free in this new tech-based world. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and check out yesterday's video where we go deeper into why people are expecting 8 million customer service jobs to be replaced over the next 3 years. 8 million, holy cow, that's a lot of jobs. What are these guys gonna do? What are these girls gonna do? Well, we're gonna cover in yesterday's video, so check it out. I'll see you there, boys. See ya, peace.